Let's talk about Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega gave a video interview to Sportskeeda, where he had some highly debatable things to say about the quote-unquote war between AEW and NXT on Wednesday nights. This is what he said. He said, "You can call it a war if you want. To me, we're in a completely different kind of business. It's hard to say that you're going to war with people that I call my friends, and yet we are going to war. I'm going to war with these dudes that if we were on the same show together, the same promotion, let's pretend there were no borders, and there's just one big promotion. If these guys were on the same show as me, they'd be in the dark match. They'd be in the opening match of my main event match." And then he said this. He said, "You want to call it a war, you want to call that competition, go ahead. Maybe it's fun for you to do. That's cool, but we're different planets. And you're going to see that right away when you see 10,000 plus arenas sold out. You're going to see smiles on fans' faces. You're going to see real stars. Not developmental talent, but real stars appearing on your television sets every week." I watched the interview, or that portion of it anyway, where he spoke on this and had the controversial responses. This is all part of his little mental breakdown that he has been having on being the elite lately. Ever since he lost to Pac, he has been on this mental decline. He's not quite right. He's not quite himself. That's the storyline that they're doing with Kenny Omega. There's no way that he believes what he is saying. He's just trying to stir shit up. That was my first response. I feel the same way now that I felt days ago when I watched it with my own two eyes. He's trying to stir shit up. And it worked. But I think he's trying too hard. He's trying way too hard. This whole war angle, he's just trying too hard to create more of a war between the two sides, and he doesn't come off, obviously he doesn't come off well in this. He has been crucified this week for these comments and people pointing out how stupid it is. Yeah, and then I see the comparisons to Seth Rollins and people crying, double standard, double standard. Seth Rollins just came across like an asshole, throwing around his bank account, you know, when he was going back and forth with Will Ospreay, and he even said as much, and he apologized for it, to his credit. He realized that he did not come across well at all. And I will take him at his word that he felt bad about that. They were having a friendly back and forth on social media, and then he threw the whole bank account dig in there in this discussion about who the better wrestler is, and he regretted having done that. But he clearly felt very strongly that his company was the superior company. Those comments that he made in that respect were not comments being made to work any kind of an angle. He just felt that, you know, his company was being unfairly targeted and unfairly maligned and picked on by people, and he just snapped. He had enough, and he felt that he had to stand up for it, and, you know, he was probably under a lot of pressure. We've gone through this already, and it got me blocked for it, but we went through all this already as far as Seth Rollins is concerned. The comments that he made, the key point, though, is that I believe that Seth Rollins believes that he is the best and that WWE is the best. He's not just saying that for the sake of saying it. All the people comparing the Rollins stuff to this are missing the point. These were comments intended to get a reaction by Kenny Omega. He knew what he was doing, and it was done to get this gimmick over, whatever it is. I guess he's supposed to be delusional now. If we take his comments at face value, I can pick him apart all day long. You know, NXT has not been a developmental brand for a very long time now. For every Kona Reeves that we see on TV, we have a Keith Lee and a Cameron Grimes and a Dakota Kai, all of whom are far from developmental talents. They've been doing this a long time. Triple H has created his own indie brand. You know, AEW has its own share of talent that nobody beyond the hardcores would know. Nyla Rose, Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, I'll throw myself in there. People flipping to TNT are not going to know who these people are, not right away. You know, Chris Jericho said as much. He was on Busted Open Radio recently. Maybe this was in the last couple months or so. This is their biggest star. This is their champion, the AEW champion. Went on the radio and said that outside of himself and Jon Moxley and Jim Ross, nobody is going to know who any of these people are. Cody maybe, he said, but beyond that, nobody is probably even going to have heard of any of these people. And that includes Kenny and the Bucks and Hangman Page and LAX and all of these people. They need to take the time, he said, to educate people each week, one by one, each episode, week by week, who these people are and why you should care about them. And give them a reason. Give people a reason to care about them and want to tune in the next week and watch them again. But the stuff about taking any NXT guy and putting him on the same show as me and they'd be in the dark match and I'd be in the main event, he's cutting a promo. I don't understand why some people, how do they not realize this? He's cutting a promo. If you take it for what I think it is, it's his attempt to create a stir going into that first show. NXT stole all the buzz away from everybody in wrestling this past week, and they put on a great show. Talk about that later. And so now all eyes are going to be on AEW, and all eyes are going to be on this war on Wednesday nights, head-to-head, between AEW and NXT. And all this war talk and everything, it's inevitable. They're head-to-head at the exact same time on the exact same night. You're going to have those comparisons. So people are both, it's not a war. I wish people would stop calling it a war. Well, you know what? It is. It's a war for eyeballs. NXT wants people to watch their show. AEW wants people to watch their show. And they can talk all they want about how everybody wins, the fans win, we're just here, this is a great time for wrestling. All of that is true. All of that is true, but deep down, very well deep down, that they're looking at this as a war, as a competition between the two sides. One side doesn't want to be one-upped by the other. That's the worst thing that could happen. And competition is a good thing for you and me. Hopefully it'll drive both sides to put on the best show they possibly can, pull out all the stops, make it exciting, make it interesting. I'm looking forward to it. But, these people that say, well, it's not a war. Well, we're all friends here. It's just a friendly competition. Okay, sure. Talk to me in 4 weeks. Talk to me in 6 weeks. Friendly competition. So that's what Kenny is doing here. He's cutting a promo. He's creating a stir, trying to anyway. Maybe it's the wrong kind of stir, because again, he doesn't come off very well in this. But it seemed pretty obvious to me, watching it, that he was playing up a gimmick, and everybody's being worked on this. Donovan Dijak, who's wrestling Keith Lee this Wednesday on NXT, he responded. He took the bait. He responded to Kenny Omega with this. He said, hey, Kenny, remember when my match with Keith Lee embarrassed yours on your PWG homecoming weekend at Bola in 2017? Tune in this Wednesday to NXT TV on USA so two developmental guys can show a real star how it is done again. Before I even knew what was going on the other day, I saw Kenny Omega's name trending on Twitter. And I thought he got injured or something and he was going to be off the first show. Turns out he was trending because of this. And because everybody was talking about Kenny Omega this week. Omega got exactly what he wanted. These people have worked themselves into a shoot, brother.